and welcome to Knitting on the Float. My name is Tracy and I'm your host. I am coming to you from a gorgeous day in the Vancouver area. I know there are places in the world that are not having typical weather. Even here, from what I understand, this isn't typical weather. They usually get a little bit more rain, but I am definitely not complaining. It has been a couple of weeks since we last visited, and there is a lot to chatter about, not only on the couch beside me, but about things happening on and around the float as well. So we will get to that in a few minutes. But before I do, let me tell you where you can find me. I am Tracy RR on Ravelry, and I am at Knitting on the Float on Instagram. If you're new to this podcast, welcome. This is a podcast where I mainly talk about knitting. There are always hopes of other crafts popping in, but usually it's mainly about knitting. So welcome. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I know that you have your requisite beverage of choice. You know that Scout, when Scout knows it's podcast time, Scout gets up and plays this game, and she has just started. I don't know if you heard her walking over. She has now put her head right under my hand here, so I'm giving her a bit of a scratch behind the ear. You're welcome to do so as well. In a moment, she's going to say, I want to go outside, I want to go inside, I want to go outside. We've had that drill before. Anyway, you've got your requisite cup of whatever you're drinking, hot or cold. You have your project that you are working on, and hopefully there won't be as many distractions for me today so I can chatter away. So let us start off with a welcome from Scout. So come on up. Whenever we have guests, Scout will go and get a toy and bring it to them. And she has done just that. Podcasting is always such fun when you have little distractions. It is fun, it really is. Anyway, welcome back, and let's move on to tea time now that Scout has settled down on the couch. Today, I am drinking out of my lovely, I like to call this my Gothic Tinkerbell mug. My sister-in-law gave this to me, and I think we're gonna have a little bit of a wing theme happening today. So I thought I would bring a winged cup. And what I am drinking is absolutely amazing. It is a new tea that I just picked up, and it's from a place on Vancouver Island, Courtney, BC. It's called the Tea Center. And this is a rooibos market spice. It is rooibos, cinnamon oil. It has sweet clove in it, which, who knew? It was delicious. And it's also got some citrus peels. And I hope I don't make a mess here. It arrived on Monday, and I have been loving it. So it is just absolutely, divine. So I will jump ahead a little bit. The last time we visited, I was mentioning that my arm was quite sore. There we go. I just want to make sure it's sealed up, because when our refrigerator was delivered, I had a fall over a toolbox that the people who were moving the refrigerator in had left in my way, and I had a bunch of things in my arm. So I fell and I landed on this side. And for about a month, I was having tingling from my middle finger all the way up my arm. So the last time we visited, I mentioned I was going to be going to a chiropractor, which I have done, and I am feeling loads better. And on my first visit to this chiropractor, she had a nice little thing of tea, and she had this wonderful market spice blend in this teapot, and I had a taste and I was absolutely blown away. I needed to get some. So as you see, I have picked up some market spice tea, and it's warm and spicy with a little bit of sweet. There's no sugar added, but it tastes like there's sugar in it. It is so delicious. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Absolutely loving the new chiropractor. She is fantastic. But what happens to me when I go to chiropractors, I don't know why. I get all, in that Zen mode, and then I fall. And if you were with me back in October of 2021 when we were moving here, we were doing Vlogtober, and I went up to our chiropractor in Toronto, and on my way home, I was going through the park, and I tripped over a twig and went straight down. I was going to get the mail the day after I visited the chiropractor. I had my first initial session with her. The day after, going up to get the mail, and there's this little tiny bit of metal on the dock, which I hit with the front of my shoe, and I went down, landing right on the same spot that I had fallen the month before. And it's gotten a little bit better, but I scraped my arm. I've got a couple bruises still, and bruises here. So that was about a week and a half ago that happened. So I am healing, and I've been to the chiropractor a couple more times since, and I am definitely feeling a lot better. The tingling is starting to really subside. My issue right now is my heel, and I'm hoping that will sort of click itself out in the next little bit. Anyway, that's all for bits and bobs. Happily, I was introduced to a fabulous new tea, which is where I went on that tangent. So you know what? Sometimes tangents are good, and distractions from puppies. So let us say cheers while I can to going with the tangents, going with the distractions, and making it all work out. Cheers to that. So good. Now I'm going to let a mournful puppy outside. This is the game we play. I want out, I want in, and it always seems to be on podcast day. I don't know what it is. Bring the camera out. It's because everybody's visiting with us. We will get through it. This week I have a lot to chatter about. Lots of project bags are to my right, and last time we sat and had a lovely little visit, I was all about the bits and bobs. Now, the bits and bobs has not gone out of style, but I do have to say it has definitely not gotten much love, and I've only worked on one of my bits and bobs projects, and that's the one that is living in my lovely bird leg bags Christmas bag. I just love all the little gold bits on here, and they are metallic gold. They are just so beautiful. This bag is one of my favorites. And this is a bits and bobs that I am working on for my lovely sister-in-law and her family. And when we left off last, I had a tiny bit of a mini left, and this is from the Nora George Yarns Advent 2019. And I'm holding it double with lots of beautiful hedgerow yarns in the Twinkly Toes sock base. So I've got quite a few left here, but this is the second skein of Twinkly Toes, and I'm now on, I believe this is number 8, but I'll count and just double check. When we left off, I had moved my Darth Vader Corner of Craft Progress Keeper. And as you can see, I've not done a whole lot. I've done about 3 rows, and that got me from the small little mini to this mini here. And let me tell you how many minis I'm at now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm on number 8 now, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. It's always fun when you count and doubt yourself. I know, counting to 10 isn't that hard, but sometimes. Anyway, this is the beautiful Bits and Bobs blanket. This is a pattern by K.F. Jones of the Bakery Bears. It is a lovely squishy fisherman's rib. This one's going to be a little bit wider than the pattern calls for, so I put a few more stitches on. And I am loving working on this, even though with 3 rows added, you would think maybe not as much, but just other things have jumped into the queue, and I will get to those in a minute. Anyway, this is a beautiful project, and it's going to be a little bit before I visit with it again, and I'll explain that in a little bit, probably in bits and bobs, but it is definitely one of my comfort knits, and I expect that through the end of August and into the fall, I'll be spending lots of time with this Bits and Bobs as well as my other leftover Bits and Bobs project, which got no love in the past couple of weeks. Anyway, that is one of the projects that I have to share. The next one I'm going to chatter about, I actually did a tiny bit of work on the other day, and this is my Shrug. This is a pattern by Susanna Summer, and it is this lovely brioche and garter shrug. I have now been able to check off one more repeat. I was halfway through the repeat the last time I worked on this, and when I went back to it, I think it was actually yesterday, I realized that I hadn't fully finished the repeat. And this is the right side of my Shrug. I should probably give it top up. And this is the wrong side. It is reversible. It is gorgeous. And yesterday, I guess I've been doing the Bits and Bobs so much that when I started working on the brioche, I was starting to knit 2 strands together, and I got a few stitches in, and I realized that's not how brioche works. Brioche, you need to do the 1 strand across, go back, do the 2nd strand across. Not as easy as fisherman's rib, but very lovely. Anyway, this pattern is absolutely wonderful, but it did take, as I mentioned, a little bit of readjusting. The yarns that I'm using this gorgeous viola in the thistle colorway. I was thinking amethyst, but no, it's thistle. And I do have another skein of that, precious. And then I'm also using this Hedgerow Yarns. This is a Silky Singles in the Glacier colorway. And again, I have an extra one because I'm probably going to need 2 of each. I do have more of this upstairs, but I think I should be good. And then I am thinking for the I-cord edging, I'm actually leaning towards Pollen, although I do like Harvest as well, because Harvest has those beautiful purples and light colors that are in the Glacier. So when I get to that point, I will make the decision, but until then, I have lots and lots of knitting to do. But it was nice to finally pick this back up and do a little bit of work on it, because when I started it, I was going really strong, and then I put it down and didn't touch it there for quite a while. And I'm using some lovely Corner of Craft Progress Keepers to indicate my middle, because I want to make sure that I am keeping my middle straight along the spine. Anyway, as I mentioned, that is a lovely pattern by Susanna Summer, and it is in, whoa, we're going to start off with some butterflies now. My lovely Celebrating Mice bag by Jules Hill and Bryony of So Sweet Violet, and there is a lovely hand sequined butterfly on this bag, and lots of wonderful butterflies with the Celebrating Mice. Okay, another project that got a tiny bit of love. Now we're going to see where my energy really has been focused on the past couple of weeks. We'll come back to butterflies, but before we do, let me share with you a brand new cast on that I put on my needles. I was kindly gifted a pattern. This is the Great Ambition pattern, and it is mittens, and it is the Slytherin pattern from the Hogwarts houses. So I am knitting this. And I may have done a lovely little shop for brown paper packages. We will get to that. And I bought some toku wool in this gorgeous green and this gorgeous gray/silver. And we are about, not quite, but we are about to start knitting some floats on the float, because this is a color work project. And here is the other side of that picture of the hand. So there's going to be some color work happening on the float, which will be absolutely, I'm not going to say terrifying, because it's not. I have done color work before. I just am not as comfortable with color work, but I am excited to start working on those. So I did cast on my cuff, and I'm loving how these colors are knitting up. I am using the recommended green from the pattern. They did not have the silver that is the one that was used in the sample, but this was a modeled close second. So I did get this one, and both of these are toku wools. So, and I've got those right here. So let me put my glasses on so I can share the names of the colors, and I hope I don't completely butcher them. So toku wool, this is Ori, and I believe Ori is the gray. And then this one is Leto, Lehto. I think I did okay with that. And these are both fingering weight wools, and they are finish wools, and they're a little bit rough, but I think they're going to make absolutely lovely mittens. So that is in my lovely bag that my friend Sam did the beautiful embroidery, and her mom Chris did the bag, and inside the bag is a wonderful pocket and such fun fabric, and it's got a fantastic handle as well. So this was a new cast on that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a cast on. I was thinking I was going to cast on my Dreaming of Butterflies shawl, which is also color work, but as I was gifted this wonderful pattern, and Sam actually gifted me this pattern, that is what ended up on my needles. So pattern is in there, needles, yarn, counter. I probably need to throw in some stitch markers as well, so I'm going to do that now. And we are on to the next project, and I think I'll take my glasses off for the next one. The next one is another new cast on. While I really want to have the attention span to work on my Great Ambition mitts, they are not great mitts pattern. It's not a great pattern to work on in the dark. And Greg and I went to go see the Barbie movie the other day, and I wanted to have some knitting in hand, and I wanted simple knitting. So I did a sneaky cast on, and I put some yarn that I had wound up, and I think I shared this with you when we were doing our May cleanup. And this is from my turtle pearl bin, and this is called What Does It Mean? And this is turtle pearl striped turtle toes. There's the ball band for it, and it is a fun, lovely little set of rainbows mixed with gray. So when I was at home, I did a 2x2 cuff, and I decided to do 72 stitches. So I'm going to make some larger socks for someone else. And I cast on right at where the gray met the red. I started my cast on edge, and so I've got a little bit of gray at the top here, and then I went straight into a full rainbow. Then it goes into the gray, and I stopped here at the beginning, before we left for the movie. So at the beginning of the movie, I basically knit from here all the way down to just around where this green and blue one meet. So that was a whole lot of knitting, and then the next day I did a tiny bit of knitting to the gray, and then I stopped because I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to bring in another color or whether I wanted to continue with the rainbow. And I decided to grab a couple of minis, and I had a secret test knit that I worked on a while back. I haven't been able to share that with you, but I shared my yarn, and this is the leftover yarn from that test knit, and it is Miss Babs. I think it's Miss Babs something toes, not turtle toes, because that's this one. Anyway, it's a Miss Babs, and then I decided I'm going to do the heel in red and I'm going to do the toe in purple, because with this rainbow it does the red through the purple, gray, and then purple through the red. And so here I have the red through the purple. I've done a little bit of gray, and I have chosen to do just a plain stockinette heel flap. I have done a square heel turn, and again, this was a 72 stitch sock, and I am just about to rejoin the gray and pick up and continue knitting through a gusset, and then it will start off with the purple to the red, and then I'm gonna have to figure out how long I actually want these socks and who they're for, because if they're for Isaac, they need to be really, really long. If they're for Nathaniel, they need to be just a tiny bit bigger than my feet. Things to figure out. Anyway, I think I may determine that depending on how much yarn I have to work with in the foot, and that's part of why I decided to add in some other colors. And I thought, because I've got the reds on the inside here and the purples on the outside, I thought doing the toe in purple would be quite fun, and using leftovers is always a fun thing. So with Turtle Pearl Turtle Toe socks, they come in 2 skeins and they are perfectly matched. So I've wound these up. I will get it to where the gray and the red meet, and then I'll do my cast on and be able to knit the second sock so it looks exactly the same as the first. I could have a little bit of fun maybe and do a purple heel with a red toe, but I think I'll just keep them the same. Anyway, that was a sneaky new cast on, and it was really great to have something to knit on during the Barbie movie. I didn't get snacks. I just had nice, yummy turtle toes, and that was perfect for watching a movie. It's been so long since I've seen a movie in the theater as well. I think it has probably for a lot of us. I've just had a ball of yarn drop down and roll under the red chair, so I better remember to grab that, to put that in here. For now, I'll put that back there. And we are going to move on to my final project that I worked on, which is now a finished object, and I am so, so excited to share this with you. This had been living in my beautiful bag that Vicki of the Beautiful Stitch made for me. We did a swap a while back. I made her some socks. She made me a beautiful bag, and the yarn that was in here is a Nora George sock set. It's an MCN sock set, and I used Titania as my main color, and I always love pink and green, and I used the mini, which was green, as a highlight. So the Paper Wing Socks pattern was released today, and it is a beautiful new pattern from the Handmade Sock Society featuring butterflies. Helen's sample is done in one color. She's used the Wool Barn in Duck Egg, and back in May when I was trying to figure out which yarn to use for sock 2, Duck Egg was one of the ones that I considered, but I ended up going with Mist. But for this one, I decided I wanted to play a little bit with colors, so I have used the green as a little bit of a highlight on the cuff, and I've also done the toe in green. Ooh, the police are going right by. Let me show you really quickly. There goes the police cruiser on the boat. They were really close to the house. I guess they heard we were having a lovely visit, but they were just so close to the house. Anyway, so Titania and the mini, I've used this as a highlight on the cuff and the toe. And these socks are so beautiful. Here is my finished object, my beautiful paper wing socks. And look at that gorgeous green toe. And I've also done a little bit of a highlight. I've done a 3-round 2x2 highlight. And let me pull a sock off. Oops, always dropping something. So I started off with 3 rounds of my highlight color and continued the 2x2 rib in the Titania. And then the paper wing socks have this gorgeous butterfly motif going down the front and the back. It then goes into an eye of partridge heel. And then there is, I think this is a half kerchief or a round heel. I have to check my heels again. A lovely gusset, because to me, a sock is perfection when it has a gusset. And then a beautiful plain stockinette instep and foot, which is perfect for summer knitting. And then we have a wedge toe, which I have done in the highlight color, my green. And I absolutely love how this pair of socks has turned out. Do I have favorites? Maybe. I mean, who doesn't love a butterfly? So these are my paper wing socks, and I absolutely love these. I cannot wait. Yes, I can. I was going to say I cannot wait until winter when I wear these and they remind me of summer, but you know what? I love summer so much that I can definitely wait until winter. But I can dream about wearing my beautiful paper wing socks in winter right now because it's just a little bit too warm at the moment. Anyway, a beautiful knit, a fun little motif, and getting through each of the butterflies, you just fly through the butterflies, which is wonderful. And they were a relatively quick knit and very enjoyable. Perfect for summer. Not perfect, this part up here, for taking to the movies. Perhaps this part down here would be perfect for the movies, but a wonderful knit nonetheless. Anyway, these are going to go into my box of socks, ready for winter use, but I am definitely not wanting winter to rush. That is all I have to share for my favorite things, although there are still a couple more things on the couch that I'm going to talk about. But first, let me share my little sneaky purchase. I had occasion to visit a lovely local yarn shop, and I went to Black Sheep Yarns in this lovely brown paper bag, and I purchased a few little skeins of yarn. I know I need no more yarn, but when I was gifted this wonderful pattern of Great Ambition, and I was also gifted the pattern for the Hufflepuff version. So this is the Great Ambition mitts here, and I'll share there's a whole collection of all 4 of the houses in these lovely mitts. So I have Great Ambition, and I also have the Hufflepuff. I of course had to buy the yarn, so I already shared with you these 2 yarns that I picked up at Black Sheep Yarns. But of course, while there, And with my great ambition of knitting all 4 pairs of these wonderful mitts, I picked up the other colors. So Isaac was with me, and he convinced me that I should buy the Hufflepuff colors for him, or as close to Hufflepuff as I could. Now there was a recommended yellow, but Isaac liked this one better. And this is a John Arbin Exmoor, and it's a 50-gram skein. So I've got this lovely gold and this gray. This is this is John Arbin as well. So we picked up this combination to knit a pair of mitts for Isaac. And Nathaniel is a Ravenclaw. So 2 more Tuku wools. I bought this beautiful blue and this gorgeous bronze color. And I'll actually pop on my glasses and tell you the colorways. So for the gold, it is called Drumble, and the gray is called Bulgerin Clouds. And they are lovely together. And then the blue in the Tuku wool is Uoma, Uoma, in this gorgeous blue. And then this bronze is called Rura. So a lovely combination. And then the final ones, the Gryffindor mitts, are going to be a mix of Tuku wools and John Arbin's Exmoor. Again, another Drumble here. And then this one, this beautiful red, is called Hoka. And yes, I may have gone a little bit wild in the yarn store. I went to buy 2 skeins, the green and the gray, and came out with just a little bit more, as often happens, doesn't it? Anyway, that is my lovely brown paper package purchases, and I'm hoping that I can work on these throughout the fall. So I have 2 of the patterns already. I need to pick up the other 2, and then I will be knitting mitts and doing lots of floats on the float, and that's going to be very, very exciting. It's now time for Bits and Bobs, and this is my segment where I talk about anything and everything not necessarily knitting related. I do have a couple of clips just off of the float house. I captured the beaver out swimming, and our friends, our lovely, lovely, beautiful friends, Prancer and Dancer, are back, so I've got them as well, and I'll pop that in a little bit later on in Bits and Bobs, maybe right at the end. In the meantime, I still have a few things on the couch because it has been a very eventful couple of weeks since we visited last. I did mention I've been to the chiropractor a few times, and I am feeling so much better, even with an additional fall in there. Yes, that was not a fun thing to happen, but thankfully I got it treated really well, and I'm able to move slowly, surely. Things are getting back into the places they need to be. The other thing that has kept me very busy the past couple of weeks is that my dad had a bit of a medical issue last week, and he's going to be okay. So that is great to hear. But there was definitely a bit of a scare, and I have booked a flight home for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to go help out, see what I can do. Probably not a lot, but it will be nice to be home and with my family. And so I'm going to be flying to Toronto tomorrow for a couple of weeks. So of course, I've got some things on the couch and some things in front of me that I hope to take with me for my travel project. One of them is not knitting, and my plan is to take my Cookie Monster cross stitch, and I am hoping to finish this while I am away. So when we go away, don't we always take so many projects, hoping to finish them all, and we come home and maybe we've finished one, worked a little bit on another. I really, really want to get this done, and then while I'm in Toronto, see if my mom can help me get this mounted onto the frame. So this is coming in the suitcase with me. And I have a new cast on that will be coming along as well. I have put it in one of my fun bird leg bags, summer camping trip bag. And I am planning to cast on using these lovely minis. And this is part of the Nature collection from Nora George Yarns. There are 10 minis here. And a couple of years ago, I did a test knit for Tracy of Nora George Yarns, and it was a cowl. And I made the cowl in Christmas colors. I used the traditional Christmas and the modern Christmas colors, and I made this beautiful cowl, gave it to my mom, and unfortunately it got lost or something has happened. It is no longer to be found. My mother loves that cowl, so I have decided to use these gorgeous, maybe a little bit more autumnal colors to make her another cowl. And I can't remember the name of the pattern. I'll put it right here. Oh, it's the Snowdrift cowl. So I'm going to knit a Snowdrift cowl. I have printed up the pattern, and I'll pop a picture of the one I did in the Christmas colors right here for you to see. And I'm looking forward to casting that on. So I do need to make sure I pack my needles. In my notes from my first project, the pattern calls for a 4mm needle, but my note says the next time I wanted to do this, I should use a 3.5, I believe. So I will make sure I do that. Anyway, crinkly goodness in this bag, along with the pattern. I just need to, as I said, remember to put the needles in, maybe a progress keeper. I do need to do a provisional cast on for this, so I'll probably try and cast this on tonight. So I'll wind up one of the minis, or maybe two of the minis, cast it on, and then I can work away on the plane ride tomorrow on this. The other options that I'm going to be bringing with me, I am going to be bringing my Great Ambition mitts and do a little bit of color work, a little bit of floating off the float. So this is a project that I'm hoping to get a little bit of work done on. None of these brand new wools are coming with me though, so they are going to stay here. I'll have to put them up in a safe place up in the loft. Where? I have no idea. I guess I cleared out some minis, so there's probably a little bit of space. I am planning on taking my new What Does It Mean socks as well. So I've got my yarn all wound up, plus yesterday I chose the purple for the toe. So I am hoping to get the gusset stitches picked up and maybe work a little bit through the gusset so that tomorrow it's just smooth sailing and easy knitting when I just want a straightforward project to work on. So that is another project. So now we've got 4 projects on the couch. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I have one more. I am not going to bring my bits and bobs with me, but I am going to bring my Shui Shrug with me. I think. I'm not 100% sure. It's pretty big, but it would be nice to work on something a little bit bigger. Although I do have to say, this is pretty big as well. And I do want to finish this one. So you may only see the wool and then some photographs of this because I'm hoping to work on this, finish it, and leave it in Toronto. So that is my goal. Hoping to work on, finish, bring back with me from Toronto. And then, oh, I'm not bringing this project, that's right. I am bringing this project with me, that is right. These are some long ago worked on socks. I'm using gorgeous Viola yarns. It's been so long, I can't quite remember the colorway name. Hopefully I've got it. I know I have it on my Ravelry page. I don't even have the ball band. And I'm going to be using this mini for the toe. And this is a pattern by Danielle George, who is Little Bobbins. And I started this as a test knit before we moved from Toronto to Vancouver, and I had told Danny at the time there was no way I was going to get the entire sock done. So my main thing was to just get the leg done, which I did, and then I worked on it a little bit after we arrived. I've got the Eye of Partridge heel, and I have picked up my stitches to continue the foot. So I am hoping, while I'm away, to spend some time with these, and these are the sandwich socks. I'm gonna have to write it down because my brain is not fully functioning right now. The rose petal sandwich socks, that's what they are called. And I'll pop down the yarns. The green, as I mentioned, is a beautiful viola sock, and then the pink and the turquoise are minis from Nora George Yarns. And in fact, this turquoise here, I believe, was from the Modern Christmas set. So where the Modern Christmas cowl has gone missing and I will be knitting a new one, I got a little bit of yarn left over. So Shrug, I believe, is staying here. One pair of socks, two pair of socks, mittens, cross stitch, cowl. Should keep me busy in the evenings, although I'm supposed to be going to help, not going to craft, but you always want to make sure you've got lots and lots of crafts ready for the plane ride and waiting in offices, other things like that. So anyway, that is my hope and dream. I do have a carry-on, so I've got a little bit more room for knitting this time. So I think these 5 should fit comfortably. I'm going to pop this in my suitcase, and I'll get the blue stitching in to start my center. And this really, I don't think, should take me long. And then it'll be really nice to hopefully bring it back all fixed up so that I can then put this on Isaac's door and then move the Oscar the Grouch to Nathaniel's drawer. So one project will hopefully come back fully complete. Bringing 5 projects, is that a little bit excessive? Probably. I'm really hoping to get this finished while I'm away, and then I'm also hoping my mom will help me mount it and get that all done. I do need to remember to bring a needle minder, and I probably should make sure I bring a ring to put it in as well. So a few extra little goodies need to be packed so I can work on this project effectively. And then a couple pairs of socks, always fantastic to have for when you're on the go, in the car, all that kind of stuff, on the plane, especially if it's just vanilla. These ones will take a little bit more thought. I'm not sure how much will actually get done while I'm away, but I am looking forward to doing a little bit of color work. It'll be fun. But this is the one I really want to focus most of my energies on, and I think it will be beautiful once I've got it done. So a little bit of prep work tonight before I pack everything in my carry-on and in my personal item. But yeah, 5 projects, a little bit much. Anyway, I will pop in the video from around the float, and that is, I think, all I've got for bits and bobs this week. The bridge is just opening up for this yellow, I think it's actually a houseboat, but it's being towed by a boat in front, and then it's towing a boat behind it. But it has a bow, like a boat on the front of it. I didn't catch it earlier, but when it was passing by, Greg just pointed out and said, look, there's a yellow houseboat going down the river. And it's so absolutely adorable. It seems that Tugaway is being pulled by another tugboat today. Never a good sign when the tugboat that usually works is needing to be towed. I was just walking home from my neighbor's, and look who I saw just outside the house. There he goes, down the river. It is Tuesday, August 1st, and I have happy news, but I also have sad news. We have a beautiful swan here, and a beautiful swan there. So that means that both Prancer and Dancer have come back this way, but apparently they had a cygnet, but unfortunately the cygnet died. But very happy to see these two again. I haven't seen them for months. It's been a very, very long time. But definitely wanted to share the beauty of the swans here having their little wiggle in this little area. I have been looking for otters for ages, and I finally found one on the inside here. He's just in the bulrushes. He's really fast. If you listen, there's a little squeaking sound. That's the otter. It is Wednesday, August 2nd, and it is moonrise right now, and I just thought I would share how magical this looks. The moon has just come up over the trees, the reflection on the water. These are the beautiful things about living on the float home. I hope you enjoy it too. What's really beautiful is when the moon gets a little bit higher in the sky, we get this beautiful flood of light across the river. So, so pretty. Anyway, it is nighttime. I'm heading to my bath. Good night, and I will see you tomorrow when I get to share a brand new knitting pattern. But of course, I'll have already done that because this is going to be in bits and bobs. Thank you so much for joining me on Knitting on the Float. I hope that you've had a chance to sit down and relax while I have shared wonderful projects, wonderful new socks, beautiful yarn that I have no room for, but I'll make room for it. People need mittens, right? Of course we do. And I also need to up my color work game. I'm knitting on the float. I need to do some floats around here. Anyway, I hope that if you've had a chance to take a look at the new paper wing pattern, that you absolutely love it. Now, because I'm going to be in Toronto in 2 weeks, I think it'll be 3 weeks before our next visit, although I may pop in a little bit earlier. We shall see. Anyway, I am wishing you a wonderful couple of weeks of crafting, and I look forward to visiting with you nearer to the end of August. Enjoy summer. I hope if you are in a place where the sun has disappeared, that it comes back for you, because we all need a little bit of sunshine. And if you're in a place where it's a little bit too hot, I'm wishing you lots of cool beverages to keep you a little bit more temperate. I will see you soon, and have a wonderful couple of weeks. Bye. Five projects. Is that excessive? I don't know. I do have the one larger project that I hope to finish while I'm away and leave behind. So I know that at least I'll have some room in my suitcase when I'm coming back, or at least I hope to. Of course, I'll bring my leftover yarn and my project bag back. I would love to have 2 finished pairs of socks, but if I don't, that's okay too. The mittens. We'll see how I do with those. The other thing we'll see is whether Shusui jumps in the suitcase as well. I'm thinking not, but you never know.